Just sit right back and you hear a tale of a fateful trip that started on this podcast show aboard this tiny ship. The host was a mighty podcast man, insane Mike Brave and sure. Five podcasters set sail that day on a 2-hour show. A 2-hour show. The movie started getting rough. Andy's cookies he did toss. If not for the courage of the fearless crew, the podcast would be lost. The podcast would be lost. Island horror movies on this episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Attention planet Earth and beyond. Stay tuned for Attack of the Killer Podcast. 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 Yay.
Aloha and welcome to another episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast, your tropical resort for all things horror. This is episode 271, and we are calling it Island Horror. We will be talking about horror movies that take place on an island.
That's a well-titled episode.
If this is your first time listening to our show, let me explain. Attack of the Killer Podcast is a horror movie podcast where a group of friends, we get together with a topic, and we talk about movies within that topic. We're all just friends here, hanging out, so we speak openly and freely, so there may be spoilers. Now, if you like the show, you should consider becoming an attacker. Go to jointheattackers.com. There you can pick the tier of your choice and donate to the show and help the show keep going. With your donation, you become a member of the Attack of the Killer Podcast family.
We almost stopped, and then we got some more attackers. They were like, all right, we'll keep going.
That's right. That's right. So, yeah, it's a real thing. It could end right now.
Stop it.
Okay. Anyway, you can become a member of the Attack of the Killer Podcast family that we call the Attackers. You get all kinds of perks when becoming an attacker. You can get bonus episodes, shout-outs on the show and the website, videos, invites to exclusive events, and so much more, including merch. Again, all you got to do is go to jointheattackers.com, donate to the show, and become an attacker today.
Do it.
And now, it is time to introduce you to the podcast crew. The podcast set ground on the shore of this uncharted desert isle with my own personal Gilligan, Jason!
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm so happy to be here. Sorry, go ahead and sing.
The millionaire, he wishes Ted good.
I do wish. Hi, guys.
The movie star, Andy.
Thank you.
And he's both the professor and Marianne, Brian Clark.
I'm back and madder than ever.
How does he do it? I don't want to know.
You can make a radio out of a coconut, but you can't fix a hole in the fucking boat.
I said it once, I'll say it again. Shudder is the best horror streaming service. Unlike other streaming channels that make you pay every month but never update their content, Shudder is consistently adding so much great content to appeal to any type of horror fan. Sign up for Shudder today. If you're still not sure, you can get a free month of Shudder on us here at Attack of the Killer Podcast. Just go and put in our promo code AOTKP and you'll get your first free month. Again, the promo code is AOTKP. And since I am the best at segues, here's Tad with what we watched.
Fire up that letterbox. Andy, what have you watched?
Okay, here we go. I will start off. Since I picked up a few actual bootlegs when I was at Horror Hound in Cincinnati.
Don't say it out loud.
Sorry. This had been discontinued by Shout Factory, and it's one of my guilty pleasures that Stuart Gordon did that is not a horror movie, and it's called Robot Jocks, and it looks really good
Yes.
on a Blu-ray transfer, and it actually has he has a very small role in it. Jeffrey Combs is actually in this, if you pay attention to the crowd, I believe. But yes, basically your mech warrior kind of feel to it, and yeah, it's just these two giant robots fighting over territory, in the future. And I always liked it when I was a kid, and I didn't have like a Blu-ray of it, so I picked that up. I also got the whole bloody affair of the Kill Bill series, and it's seamless on a Blu-ray between the two movies. And I haven't really watched the whole thing per se, but I watched what was included, and the whole crazy 88 scene where it supposedly goes black and white. This is all full color, and it looks really really good. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. And I also bought Trick or Treat on a Blu-ray too. So hopefully that turns out really well too. Um, I watched the Ozploitation biker movie called Stone. Have you guys heard of this?
No,
I
no.
haven't seen it yet, though. It's on my list. It's on Tubi, I think.
Yes, it's not bad. They talk about it a little bit in Not Quite Hollywood. You guys ever seen that movie?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
from the same. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and because Quentin Tarantino like really loves this movie, just that the motorcycle stunt that when he goes off the cliff, that looks awesome. Um, it's not bad. I think definitely the movie Stone Cold with Brian Bosworth just kind of rips off this movie. It's just like a modernized version of that, but basically it's an Australian biker movie where a cop has to infiltrate a motorcycle gang called the Grim Reapers, and they touch on Satanism because supposedly they're Satanists, but I mean it's like very very mildly put. But somebody's offing all these bikers, and they need to find out who. So the the cop infiltrates the biker gang, and then hopefully tries to figure out who's trying to kill them all. But not bad. It was said to have kind of kickstarted the Ozploitation thing before Mad Max and the Road Warrior and all this and that. But not bad. Um, Other than those two, I also went to the theater this weekend, and since it's apparently where I'm from is kind of like how Tad says Burlington's kind of dumb. It's like basically if it's not a Marvel movie, it's not worth going to. Um, I went and saw Pearl, and I had the whole theater to myself. Granted, it was 2 o'clock on a
We-
Sunday afternoon, but
We did too on a Wednesday night, maybe. Yeah,
yeah, you had the theater to yourself.
yeah, that's a
God.
bummer.
Wow.
It's nice, but
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
But it's kind of disheartening that people's tastes are in their ass. Um,
Ew.
I will say that I have yet to see a Ty West movie that I didn't like.
Cabin Fever 2.
Ooh, ouch.
I love
Oh,
Cabin Fever too.
Okay. Okay. Well,
That
I
should have
mean,
been on my
I-
list. For
I
the
didn't-
He
bonus
tried to get his
episode.
name off it though.
I didn't
That's true,
dislike
yeah.
it. I don't dislike that one, but I mean it's definitely lower on the totem pole, so to speak. This movie is awesome. Pearl is great. I mean, right when you first started watching it, you feel like you're watching like a Turner Classic movie.
Yeah.
It's so well done. It's so well shot, and it's it's your traditional Ty West slow burn. But once it starts burning, it is delightfully apeshit. It is great. Tyler Bates channeled him some straight up Bernard Herrmann shit when he did the score
Yeah.
to this, which is also
Unreal,
great.
man. I gotta grab
Cool.
that on vinyl.
It is
awesome.
so good, so good. Mia Goth's performance is stellar. Even during, I don't want to spoil it, but even during, there's like this long, drawn out in
Monologue.
the credit. Yeah, long drawn out
Oh no,
monologue.
credits.
Yeah, well, and both, and I wasn't really just turned off by either one of them. I was just like, okay, just I didn't feel like it was too long, and they are, but I was still engaged, and just watching her in the credits, just the slow descent into like this happiness, into like this deranged look on her face, and she's like crying, and it's just all this weird wavelength of emotions that she goes through without even saying a word, while she has like this big gigantic Joker grin on her face. It's just it's really weird to look at. um what else is there? It really has me geared and jazzed up to see the third movie in this series. um Stay past. I don't really want to say what you see at the end credits, but when the credits are over, just stay there and keep watching. um yeah, unfortunately, I wanted to, during the previews, what this kind of bummed me out because I wanted to go in blind, but I saw the trailer to Barbarian, um, which and now I really want to see. But I'm trying to think of anything else that I saw in Pearl that just really kind of blew me away. Just the evolution of Pearl's madness is very, very entertaining in this movie. And I will say this about her character: you want to feel sorry for her, you really do, but you can't. And yeah, I highly, highly recommend go see Pearl, and that's what I watched.
All right, Jason, what have you watched?
Well, guys, there's this thing coming up here. I believe the weekend that this episode airs
Is it?
will be Halloween-apalooza. So,
Ooh, I've heard of that.
yeah, so listen to this on your way to Ottumwa
That's right.
at the Bridgeview Center, Friday and Saturday, October 7th and 8th.
I love that you're taking this opportunity during what we watched to plug Halloween-apalooza. So keep going. What can you do at Halloween-apalooza?
Oh, man. You're the guy for that. So much stuff. Well, you like horror movies. It's an international horror film festival.
What?
I know.
Will there be like celebrities and stuff there though?
There totally is, from awesome horror movies there. And they'll be signing autographs and taking pictures and kissing your babies. And, well, there's Debbie Rochon.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of got a crush on her. There's Naomi Grossman.
Awesome. American Horror Story.
Yeah. And Dwayne Whitaker.
Ooh. He's been in things.
Yeah. And then Justin Beam. You heard of him? Anyway.
He's the biggest celebrity
Or he
there.
might be, I know. Did somebody just whistle? Did I hear a whistle? Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, well, yeah, come to that. But also, I haven't seen any movies since the last episode. I've been busy working on that.
Understandable.
Yeah, I did take time because the two shows that are, I watched a couple episodes of shows that are ongoing right now. House of the Dragon. I watched that. And that's been really good.
Is that the RuPaul show?
No.
Arch
Get
your
it?
back and growl at me like a dragon.
That's the
Game of Thrones.
Game of
spin-off.
Thrones.
yeah. That's
You watching the Lord of the Rings one?
And The Rings of Power. Yes, I love it. Lord of the Rings is my favorite movie ever, and so both of these are prequels, which is neat. And just I get 2 hours a week of just fantasy awesomeness. Yeah, I'm loving it. Are any of you guys watching any of these? No.
Yeah, I'm watching House of the Dragon, and it is good. I'm enjoying it. I love Matt Smith because my introduction to him was he was the Doctor, the 11th Doctor in Doctor Who. So,
I knew there.
How many minutes into
been a
this?
fan.
Yeah, and time. Oh, we're
He
just
had me.
14 minutes and 30 seconds.
Congrats.
Oh,
And I'm
Who else
glad.
here?
I have heard that the showrunner has already jumped ship, so that's not a great sign of
whoops.
some studio fuckery. But
sure.
it's good so far, and I will say it is a different showrunner than the initial
Oh yeah. Yep.
Game of Thrones, and it is fucking ballsy of them. And I'm sure they had already had it in production and spent a bunch of money, so they had to go ahead with it. But to make another Game of Thrones thing,
Oh yeah.
when I have never seen a property shit
so
its
horribly.
pants on the landing so hard
I don't.
that it literally went from biggest pop culture phenomenon of the decade to no one was talking about it overnight. It sucked so bad it erased itself from the cultural zeitgeist.
You
It was
Are
incredible.
listening to the wrong people. That last season was incredible. It was amazing, and y'all are crazy. Crazy. It was
You
great.
say that
Anyway.
in such a calm tone, it just makes you seem like this boiling rage is
Just
under
trying
the
to hold it in,
surface.
guys. Just trying to hold it in. But
So you like really in-depth, involved things that take up tons of your time and engage you emotionally, and then completely fail to pay off anything? That's your thing.
that's
you
where-
like you like edging videos, is what
that's
you're
where
saying.
I would disagree. You got 7 hours of getting
Bullshit.
the answers. We like the 7th season was like finally we get some closure on all these goddamn storylines. And I loved it. For
closure
that. We
in
finally
that they ended.
Anyway. So,
Oh,
I
boy.
watched stuff. That's what I watched.
I think you invited Brian on, right? So, speaking
That was
of
Mike
Brian,
this time. So what did Jason do to you, Mike, that made you mad enough that he got me on here?
I just wanted to talk about Mad Doctor with somebody else who probably appreciate it.
Brian, what have you watched?
Anyway, I watched a whole bunch of my money disappear at Crypticon. we went to Crypticon Minneapolis last weekend as of this recording, so like a month ago from whenever people are listening to it. It was a blast. Apparently, Tad, I think you were the one who told me that the Kansas City one had been canceled, and that was probably why the Minneapolis one was insanely stacked. Like, literally 3 times the amount of guests I think they've ever had before.
Yeah.
It was nuts. So I bought tons of stuff. Not all of it for me. Some of it was gifts, but I did get autographs from Thomas Waits and Richard Master from The Thing, and I got an original.
Crypticon.
Yeah, huh?
I think they were at Whorehound as well.
Oh yeah,
Those
probably. I'm
guys
sure
from
they're making the circuit. Yeah. As long as they're out to one, they might as well make the rounds, right? And then Ken Forey was there, so I had him sign an
Nice.
original one sheet of From Beyond.
Ooh.
As movie wise, you were talking about you wanted to see Barbarian. I took Tad's advice and knew absolutely nothing about it and just went to the damn theater to see it. And oh boy, what a fucking ride! That movie is amazing. I'm not going to say anything else about it because you shouldn't know anything about it when you go see it. But go see
yep.
Barbarian. It is so good.
Yeah.
I want to.
I can remember the last time I was genuinely like on edge with fear in the theater, and it was 47 meters down in the scene where she's swimming out into the complete darkness.
Yeah.
That freaked me the fuck out. But there were several scenes in Barbarian where like I was just letting the movie suck me in, and you can feel the goosebumps coming and the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Like, it was freaky. And
I
there's
was getting
some
tense
great
watching
gore
the trailer.
yeah, right.
I watched the trailer and I'm just like, I was like fully engaged. I was just like, whoa, what's happening to my arm? Yeah, that's hair. Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, I'm subscribed to Vinegar Syndrome, so I've been getting all kinds of crap in the mail from them. Bought a bunch of bought a bunch of Hong Kong Category 3 movies recently. I've been kind of digging into that. So I watched Erotic Ghost Story and Dr. Lamb, and then I've been plowing through all the special features. Those are both great if you want some really fun. Well, Erotic Ghost Story isn't really that fucked up. It's actually kind of sweet, which is weird to say about a Category 3 movie. Dr. Lamb is extremely fucked up, though. And then I kind of went on a little Kurosawa jag a while ago. So I watched Ikiru and High and Low and The Hidden Fortress and The Seven Samurai. And
Nice.
goddamn, the dude is a master for a reason.
Yeah.
Those movies are amazing.
What is a Category 3 movie?
It's the rating system of movies in Hong Kong. Well, I don't think they really use it anymore. Maybe they do. Since the handover, it was initiated in the late '80s. I want to say maybe '88, and it was basically their version of NC-17. But they kind of became a genre unto themselves. Although they encompass several, like there's usually either there's serial killer ones, there's like triad gangster police violence ones, and then there's like weird, gross supernatural ones like Erotic Ghost Story, Sex and Zen, Eternal Evil of Asia, etc. But they're just really weird, gnarly, gross. But also, like, there's a lot of comedy in them. They're kind of jarring if you're not used to the formula and the style of storytelling. But they're a lot of fun if you like gross movies, and I like gross movies. So there you go.
My thought was that it was like there's in the U.S. it's like we call not good movies B movies, and I'm like category 3. There's another category. There's good movies, B movies, and then this is just like the bottom of the barrel. Category 3. Okay,
No.
They don't even want to give it a letter.
a letter.
There's my buddy John. Well, you guys know John. He used to be on
Yes.
Late Night Psychorama. He's on. He's got a great podcast now called Twitch of the Death Nerve with Sam Deegan and Charles. Sorry, I forgot his last name. So if he listens to this, he can come and punch me in the wiener, I guess. But Sam does a lot of commentaries on these. In fact, she did the commentary for Ebola syndrome from Vinegar Syndrome. She's on the commentary for. She did a commentary for Erotic Ghost Story. I can't remember if there's another one on that disc too. A lot of these things, it's weird. Like these movies that you used to not be able to get, but for like 19th generation bootleg VHS traded under the table at some like sleazy basement convention or whatever, are now coming out on pristine Blu-rays with like 8 hours worth of special features on them, and multiple commentaries and documentaries. And God, what a time to be a genre fan.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that leaves you, Mike. What have you watched?
I, too, haven't watched much, but I did get a couple movies in. So I finally got around to watching X, speaking of Pearl. So watched X finally for the first time, and it was great. It was great. It may have been a little too long before I watched it, because I let the hype maybe build too much. Because... it kind of felt, a little... I mean, I was expecting something more, I guess. But I still thought it was great. It's definitely very Ty West. And it's like slow burn and everything. But really engaging characters. But I'm going to ask you, Tad, Mr. Trivia Guy, because you made a comment on our... Messenger little
Group
trivia
chat.
about these two movies, and you want to share that now because I have a question.
On Pearl and X,
Yeah.
the thing that they filmed them both at the same time. That trivia.
Yeah, that trivia.
So basically, Ty West, he pitched X to A24, and they thought, great, cool, let's do it. But it was when they got ready to start filming, it was peak COVID time, so they sent them to New Zealand to shoot it. And while they were there, they thought, this is at the time Hollywood was completely shut down. This is like the only place to shoot. So he reached back out to A24 and was like, we have all the cast crew here. Why would we just film this one quick movie, come back after we've isolated? We're coming back to nothing. We cannot shoot when we come back. You guys, the studio, are not able to make anything else. Would you be okay if I made another movie in this franchise while we're here with everybody, the same cast, crew, everybody, and just keep shooting, just keep us here a little bit longer? And they thought, great idea. And so they did so.
So, and it's turning into a trilogy. Did he have this mapped out from the beginning, or
No.
it just the idea came to him while shooting X? And X was first, right?
Yes,
Shooting-wise?
X was first, and I don't think this is a spoiler. Has everyone seen X?
Yep.
Brian, have you seen X?
No, I haven't.
Well, this isn't really a spoiler, but Mia Goth plays
Okay,
the lead and
okay.
the old lady in the movie, but that's not a spoiler. She plays two characters in the movie, and she plays another character in Pearl, obviously the lead in Pearl. Um, so I guess from the interview I listened to or watched with Ty West and Mia Goth, she basically was like developing these characters, and she was like, I want to know their backstory, where she came from, why this character is the way she is. So what if we explored that more in like a prequel, like set this up? And so they were writing it at like on their off time when they weren't shooting, because they're in New Zealand and everything was still shut down. They couldn't go out. They couldn't, and they couldn't leave the set because of COVID protocol. So they were all like basically living as a family together as like a commune in New Zealand. So why not just start writing another movie while we're filming this one? So when it's done filming, we have another screenplay and we film another movie.
Cool. I mean, that's awesome. And usually when that stuff happens in like the history of our genre in particular, when a movie's made back to back, you know, to stretch that dollar out and get two movies, the second movie in that production seems to lack. I don't know if it's fatigue from shooting or you spent more of your budget on the first film than the second film, which is more than whatnot. But just things I've seen from Pearl, not that I've seen Pearl yet, but the stuff I look from Pearl, it looks like production-wise is superior to X.
Yes, it is like production value, like everything. It looks like they gave him twice the budget, and but I think both movies are about filmmaking, and I think he was going for that because X is set in the 70s, and Pearl is set in 1918, and it's like if it's almost like Andy said, it's like watching something on Turner Classic Movies or like Wizard of Oz or like a classic movie. Like it's just unbelievable. The tone is completely different. If you like, people keep asking me because of my glowing reveal of Pearl. They're like, "Do I have to see X first?" I'm like, "No. Like you can just go watch it." And I would almost like I've sort of told people like this could be my mom's favorite movie if they cut out the violence. Like it feels like, I don't know, man. It feels like a genuine classic movie. It's really fantastic, and it is weird. That's what blows my mind is that this the way we've heard about it is like this was almost like an afterthought, or like the way he described it was like, well, we're all here, we might as well shoot another movie, and you would think that would result in not necessarily a bad movie, just not as good, but it's better in my mind.
Yeah,
That's really interesting.
I think it might be like the way Tad said about the tone of the movies. Like this is set in 1918, and it's like almost like a puritanical sense of times, and whereas you've got the late 70s and they're shooting porn, so I mean it might even have like a grimier sepia tone to it. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely had that 70s tone to it for sure. Yeah, so X was great. The only other thing I got to watch is Brandy and I celebrated our anniversary a little early because our anniversary is on October 1st, and forget about it. There's too much going on. So I wanted to surprise her and celebrate it early. So we went and hung around in Iowa City, and one of the things I thought to do was, go see a movie. And so I was looking through what movies were playing in Iowa City, and I guess they've been there's been this like nationwide Studio Ghibli film festival that's been going on for like a month and a half or something like that.
Yeah, it's Fathom Events.
Yeah. And so I'm flipping through and I see Howl's Moving Castle was playing, and she loves Studio Ghibli, so I'm like, okay, well that's what we're gonna do. I mean, how often are you gonna get a chance to see that, something like that on a big screen? Especially like I've never seen an anime on the big screen. Neither had she, let alone a Studio Ghibli film. So, and it was my first time seeing. I've only ever seen one other movie. I seen Spirited Away, which she showed me. So it was the first time I ever seen Howl's Moving Castle, and it was awesome. It was great. Yeah, there's a reason why there's such a strong fan base for those movies.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Ghibli.
Yeah.
We saw Spirited Away in the theater a few years ago for an anniversary screening, and that was the first time I'd seen a lot of their other ones, but I hadn't seen that one before. So, yeah, it is a cool way to see one for the first time, especially at a theater.
And Spirited Away, we're probably going to go see it because it's the last one of this film festival, and it's playing. I think it's on the 30th and the 1st. So we're probably gonna go see that. I want to take Simon to it because he's gotten really into anime, but definitely more modern stuff. So he hasn't seen any of the Studio Ghibli stuff, and he would totally dig it. So
You should tell him to watch Godzilla Singular Point.
oh yeah, can't go wrong. Anime and Godzilla.
I was just asking if you were making fun of we checked off the timer for when he said something about Doctor Who, so I was just wondering if anyone had a stopwatch on.
And there's the Godzilla round. Yep. All right, Tad, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, when you say he watches more modern stuff, I'm like, God damn it! I'm old enough to think like, well, Studio Ghibli is modern anime, right? No, okay, I'm old. Yep.
Fuck, Tad's old.
Welcome to the
Princess
club.
Mononoke just came out 20-some years ago. Shit.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Dude, I remember when those movies came out, when Disney had the rights there for a while and released them in clamshell VHSs. So that should tell you how old those movies are. Anyway, that's all I watched. But Tad, what did you watch?
I, like Brian, watched all of my money disappear at Halloween Horror Nights, which is a great time. I did a little bonus video for you attackers, showing off my haul from there and talked a little bit about it. I tried to put a video I took from a scare zone, but there was music in the background, so YouTube said no thank you, so I had to cut that off the end of the video. But I might just post it in the Facebook group or something. But really fun year. That was really cool. On the flight home, I watched The Kingsman on my phone, as God intended, watching it on the smallest iPhone available. I had held off watching that movie, and it was like just the right length to watch on my flight. So I'm sort of glad I watched it on a flight and didn't sit at home watching it because I didn't love it. It's okay, but out of the three, I think this is the third one, the Kingsman movies, this was my least favorite. It was like a period piece. It was not set in modern times. It had Rasputin in it. It was sort of cool. I mean, it had some cool fight scenes, but I missed, was it Taron Egerton or something? That kid from, that played Elton John, and he was in the first two Kingsman movies. He's fantastic, and he's not in this one, so I missed him, and Michael Caine. But it wasn't bad. It's definitely a movie to pass the time on a plane. So watched The Kingsman. Then I, of course, watched Pearl. I've gushed about it. Loved it. Highly recommend it. And then I watched Rob Zombie's The Munsters.
Here we go.
No,
Oh,
I'm
boy.
not gonna just shit all over it. Look, it is gorgeous, and I read an interview with Rob today. It was sort of a bit enlightening to the situation. I sort of joked when we were watching it. I'm like, I can't wait to hear when this movie gets bombed, Rob's excuses, because he sometimes does that. And he's already sort of come out and said, well, the studio came to me and they said the only way I could do it is if I could not shoot it in black and white, so I went the polar opposite and made it as bright and colorful as possible. And when he put these actors in the makeup, he said they looked like cartoons, like they looked like they're made of rubber. So he's like, I told them to just overact, like act like you're a cartoon. And so they do. And it's not as bad as the trailer is. I think I don't know why Universal let whoever edit that trailer on iMovie or whatever. The trailer truly makes it look way worse than it is. It's a little long. It's like almost 2 hours long, which
Wow.
it's an origin story. I don't think that's a secret. So it's how like Herman came to be, which I was a little bit like, so I don't really get the point of it because we've seen that story with Frankenstein and Young Frankenstein. Like, it's literally just the same story. Like, I just, they got the brain. Like, Igor stole the wrong brain and they put it in the body, and that's how Herman Munster was made. I'm like, that's Young Frankenstein. But
So we don't even get Eddie?
nope.
Wow. You can't really call them the Munsters then, now can you?
Well, they are, but it got to a point where I'm trying not to spoil it, but it's not really, you can't really spoil a Munsters movie because you know the characters. But up to a point where they move to Mockingbird Lane, it's like at that point the story comes to a screeching halt, and then it just becomes fish out of water. Where the whole origin story, they're in Transylvania, so they're around other monsters. Then they move to Mockingbird Lane, and it's like, of course, all the neighbors are like, "Whoa, they're monsters," and that's like the rest of the movie. And it's like there's nothing happens besides people seeing them and being in shock. And it's like this could have been like a half hour shorter. I don't know. I mean, I think Rob struggles with his writing, and that's even more evident when he can't lean on like fuck and his
Trailer park and knees.
Yeah, and I think it's even worse here because, and I mentioned in the group chat that it's very it's like one-liner puns after another, which we got a lot in the series, but at least on the original series there was like a message in every episode. Like,
A little bit of
it was a
moral
sitcom.
compass.
Right, it was a sitcom that we learned a life lesson in every episode, like whether it was through Eddie, and it was like, we learned a lighthearted message. In this, there's none of that. It's literally just like, it's just the characters going after each other, and I don't know. Visually, it is awesome. The score was unbelievably bad. I hated the score. It was trombones and bump ba-dum ba-dum and xylophones, and it sounded like a kids show from the 90s.
You said it had a lot of slide whistles too, right?
Yeah, after jokes there would be like woo. Nikki checked out after 15 minutes. I stayed through it with my friend Adam. We made it all the way through, and I like I said, the makeup, everything, it looks really cool. Like, they did a fantastic job with the makeup, and the lighting is like Dario Argento on LSD. It's just like there's not a fucking plain color on this movie. I mean, like Herman like fucking glows the whole movie neon green, but it's almost like a middle finger to the studio. They said you can't shoot this in black and white, and he's like, then I'm not going to have any black or white in this movie. Everything's going to be fucking bright and hurt your eyes. But it's worth checking out. I mean, it could have been way worse, and it's clear that Rob loves this franchise so much, and I commend him for trying something completely new out of his wheelhouse. He said he's been trying to get on board for this several times, even before that 1313 Mockingbird Lane on NBC. Like, every time someone's had the rights, he's tried to get into a pitch for it, and he finally got it. And I think, if nothing else, he got to get that out of his system. Good for him. You can tell they had a blast on set. Daniel Roebuck is fucking awesome as Grandpa. He's really fantastic. And I think it's like, he's a fan. I in that interview, Rob was saying he's like a big, huge fan of, like, his favorite actor is Don Knotts, and he loves old sitcoms. And like,
You
you
ever
could
seen
tell
that guy's monster collection?
I was
Yeah.
gonna say Daniel Roebucks is a big
I
horror fan.
met him at Horror Hound, and I talked with him for like, at least like almost like around 5 to 10 minutes, and he had like this big display and he had like this TV on his table, and it was his like little special showing like his horror toys. I mean, he had like the biggest, most elaborate setup that I've ever seen, like, at a convention. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's clear that he, like, I don't know. It felt like, what's his name that plays Herman?
Jeff Daniel Phillips.
Yeah, and I love him. He's very funny, and he physically fits the role pretty well. But I think his
Tall
direction, his direction for like Daniel Roebuck stuck to sort of the classic Grandpa, while he tried to do the opposite. Which I know you don't want to live in the shadow of the original, but it's like doing a prepubescent like teenage voice that cracks the whole time, and he's like, I don't know, man, something about it just it gets really sort of annoying really quick. But overall, I like I said, I didn't want to shit on it for 15 minutes, and I recommend everyone go check it out. It's worth watching at least once just to form your own opinion.
Cool. Okay. Is it out officially now?
It is on Netflix right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
And on
27.
DVD and Blu-ray. It's on digital. It's everywhere. It's out there. It's PG. PG's Rob Zombie movie.
Weird.
I know.
Even when he does animated films, they're not PG.
There's only like one. I could only see like one sort of adult sort of joke, and it's like when the Nosferatu character is trying to get Lily Munster back into his place. I'm assuming to kill her and make her a vampire. He has a neon light above his door that says, "If the tomb is rockin', don't come knocking."
That's just cute.
I'm just amazed like at the sets on this movie. Like they built this. I think they shot this thing in like Bulgaria or something, and it's just like they had to spend a fortune. And the thing that they focused on was 1313 Mockingbird Lane, like remaking that house, and it's in like one shot.
Oh no.
It's just in that shot we saw in the trailer where they recreate the intro of in this black and white, and that's probably my favorite part of the movie. But it's like, you built that house for this, okay? Like,
Wow.
yeah, it's weird. I don't know, but and it's clear that they saved on cast because everybody plays like 4 characters.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah, Daniel Roebuck is like, I'm like, oh, there he is again playing another character. Okay, cool.
Weird. Okay. I definitely want to check it out. I mean, I have no expectations for it, but cool. All right. Well, thank you, Ted. So, there's the North Pole, there's the South Pole, and then there's our pole. It's time once again for pole position.
From now on, like your parents were, you are the secret force of pole position.
All right, pole position time. Let's take a quick look back. Episode 269's pole position. The question, what is the best water death in a horror movie? Do you remember your answers? I'll tell you. Insane Mike says, Creep Show, Final Destination 5.
Yeah.
Jason
Those are the right
said,
answers.
Jaws and the Abyss. Tad says, Trick or Treat, Night of the Hunter. And Andy says, The Prowler and Halloween 2. Oh, man, such good ones.
I don't think I even remembered to vote for myself this time.
Oh, no.
Well,
So, Ted had no votes.
actually, Andy forgot really hard. So he's in last place with 9.1% of the votes.
Wow.
Yeah,
So someone did vote for him if he has a percentage.
yeah, at least
Yeah.
the one person.
I never vote for myself.
And then we got a two-way tie for second and third. Oh, so I guess we'll just read the winner with 36.4% of the vote. It's me,
God damn it.
Jason.
That's because you have the most Twitter accounts.
I have a lot. I don't use them all. That's good though.
You're just probably on Twitter more than us, so you can be pimping it.
I'm on Twitter probably more than Jason, but
Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah? You want to have a Twitter off? I don't. I have 17 accounts. All right. But let's get into this episode's pole position. The question, what is the best island horror films? I'm excited for this one because, oh yeah, Brian, have you heard of Twitter? Twitter's this awesome place where kids go and hang out on the internet.
That's where the kids go. It sounds awful.
Okay, all right. Brian's going to take my place on this one, so I'm really excited. He gets to play on Twitter, sort of, kind of.
I get to get Jason 0 votes. or
That's
something.
very possible. Oh, it's going to have your name, buddy, your name. So let's go to the random sequence generator. So 2 rounds like normal, draft style. Insane Mike's 1. Brian will be 2. Tad will be 3. Andy will be 4. Here we go. Beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, boop. Okay, so Andy's first. and then Brian, and then Insane Mike, and then Tad. All right, so
It's gonna be interesting.
Andy, you are up first. What is the best island horror film?
Okay. Probably not a lot of people have seen this one, but I still go with my heart. But you remember when the Hunger Games was actually good?
No.
Yeah,
it's
you
called
got my
something
answer.
else.
Yeah, you got my first answer.
Me neither. I am going with Battle Royale.
Fuck yes.
Damn it! I forgot to put that one on my list.
I'm gonna
That's
run
a
out
great
by the
one.
time it gets to me. I only got 4, and that's one of them.
Great. 101. All right, Brian, you're up next.
All right, I only picked 2 because I kind of figured no one was going to pick the ones, and also I didn't think I was actually going to be competing, so I didn't need more than 2. But my first pick is Matango, aka Attack of the Mushroom People.
Knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
When you said you had some guesses as to what I was going to pick, I figured you.
That was
that was
number
one of them.
one right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course. It's classic. A Shiro Honda Toho monster movie. Great, eerie, atmospheric horror flick. Cast of Toho All-Stars. Great monster designs. It's fucking unbeatable. So everyone get out there and vote for Matango, even if you haven't seen it. But then go see Matango because you really should.
You mentioned Twitch of the Death Nerve podcast earlier, and they just covered that one on a couple of.
They did, I know. I messaged John as soon as I saw the title pop up in my Stitcher, like, dude, you did Matango, that's awesome.
All right, Insane Mike, then follow that one.
All right, let me think. What direction do I want to go? Do I want to go?
Away from me, please.
I know. I'm kind of like I don't want to steal because I've got some ones and I'm like, that is probably the real answer, but those are probably Tad's. And I'll be nice this time. I'm just gonna go from the heart with probably my favorite island horror film, Raw Force.
Oh my god.
Fuck yes. See, everyone's like, oh, I'm going to go from the heart. Like, it's weird. Go from the heart. Tell the people what you love.
It's like,
Who cares about the votes?
but Brian, you and I are gonna just always pick movies that nobody's fucking heard of.
Well, that's their problem.
And this is true.
All
Not
right.
if I want to win.
All right, Tad, I know
True.
they probably stole yours, but you're up
No,
next.
no.
Pick 4.
No, I'm gonna go with Zombie.
Oh damn!
God damn.
Took it.
Oh, there you go.
That's a big one.
Nice one.
Bringing
Yep.
out the big guns for sure.
Fulci.
And I feel like this one is going to be on someone else's list, so I'm not going to pick it. I'm going to wait until someone, but I'm going to go with one from the heart. From the heart that no one else I know is going to pick, but I truly love it, and it's The Lighthouse.
I knew
I
it.
knew
Yes.
it. I knew it
Knew
'cause
it.
that was one I thought about saying, but I'm like, that's gonna be one of Tad's. I just know it.
Did you
Yeah.
like that
Wait,
movie?
Zombie was just a bid for votes? Do you not actually love
No,
that movie?
I fucking love Zombie, but that one I will get the votes, and I love it, and
True,
so
yeah.
very two opposite ends of the spectrum: a black and white A24 art house film, and Fulci. So
Yep, that was on my list.
All right, Insane
Zombie.
Mike, you're back up. Pick 6.
All right, so I'm just gonna go balls to the wall and say fuck it. Anthrophagus.
that was on my list. That was the other one.
Anthropophagus.
Awesome.
So we helped each other
I was-
out.
yeah.
You didn't take mine,
Just-
I didn't take yours.
I'm loving all this non-super newer mainstream,
Not a
just
lot of
not
mainstream.
trying to go for the votes, just all the gnarly, nasty exploitation call-outs in this
I didn't
one.
see
It's
this
great.
one until Joe Bob showed it, so
Yeah.
it's recent
Oh.
for me. A recent first time watch for me, but yeah.
Nice.
So
All
wait
right.
till we get to honorable mentions.
All right, Brian, you're up next. Pick 7, your second and final pick.
Going back to the OG island horror movie and the very first adaptation of Island of Dr. Moreau, Island of Lost Souls.
Nice, good one. That's a
Sweet.
really good one.
Awesome. Now watch. Brian's going to win this son of a bitch. All right, Andy, finish it off. Pick 8. What do you got left?
All right, I'll save my. No, I've got 2 in my head, but I will save my honorable mention. But I will go with the original old school 1973 Christopher Lee, The Wicker Man.
Oh.
I was gonna be
Fucking
shocked.
hell.
Yeah, I was gonna be shocked.
It didn't
if
even
nobody-
occur to me
Oh,
to think of
shit.
that.
Nice.
Because, yeah, it is on
Summer's
an island.
Isle.
Shit.
Yep.
Summer's
Ooh.
Isle. Yep.
And that's like a top 5 all-time favorite
making a
movie,
run for
period,
this
for
one.
me.
Heck yeah.
All right. So
That's a list.
I know you guys want to do honorable mentions.
Oh yeah.
What about you, Jason? You have any honorable mentions? If you could pick,
Oh,
you always say it to the guest.
I didn't think that far. The Wicker Man.
The Nick Cage one.
Dude,
How to get burned?
Jeez.
How to get
dude,
burned?
let's get technical here. What's one of your all-time favorite horror movies? What's one of your all-time favorite movies? What's one of your all-time favorite movies from the 70s that's not Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
You put me on the spot.
With an island and a big man-eating fish.
Jaws.
Yeah. That's on an island.
Okay.
Counts.
Amity Island.
That was on my list, and I was avoiding it because I thought for sure that one would get
Yeah,
shouted out.
nobody wanted votes on this one. That's
I
cool.
guess.
They had to vote for somebody.
Yes, honorable mentions.
Okay. I had Island Claws on mine.
Oh, God.
I love that movie. I'm just so impressed at how low budget and shitty that movie is, but the giant crab monster is freaking awesome looking.
Yeah, it looks cool. It doesn't move, but it looks cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I also put this one's for Jason, Zombie Doom, aka Violent Shit 3.
Thanks. Thinking of
Life is full of piss and shit, and now these tin-masked assholes are puking in our faces, full of shit.
Yes, Brian can quote it. That's awesome.
that was legit quoted.
Wow.
The best overdub of all time.
Yeah, sounds like people in the closet doing the dubbing. I'm surprised nobody said this one. This one I thought for sure would be a voter grab. Shutter Island.
I had that on my list.
I also had Most Dangerous Game. And then back to From the Heart, I put Who Can Kill a Child on there. Killer Shrews and Island of Death.
Ooh, fuck yeah. Oh, God, I love Island of Death.
You want some goat fucking, you want to watch Island of Death.
And an old lady getting a golden shower and then being decapitated by a bulldozer. You don't see that every day.
God damn.
Okay, any other honorable mentions?
I got a few. You've got old school Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had Black Rock, which we watched on the.
I thought about that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And this is I'm kind of surprised that neither Insane Mike or Brian mentioned this one, but Humongous with the dog on the island.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's not a bad one.
Yeah. Good.
I would say the rest of the Blood Island movies.
I thought if he wasn't going to say Mantango, it would have been one of the other Blood Island movies. But since we're talking about one of those,
right, that's what I figured that would be cheating. And I didn't even think of Jaws because most of it's on, well, half of it's on a boat. So that wasn't in my head that, yeah, Amity's an island too.
Yeah. All right, awesome.
Cool. Well, everybody get your butts over to Twitter. Brian's going to start an account. You can all say hi and follow him. But you can get these votes in at AOTKP. And that is pole position.
All right, let's talk about some movies. Some movies on an island.
Yes.
Well, on different islands. Not all these movies take place on the same island. But Andy, what's first?
Our first movie comes to us from 2004, and it is Broken Lizard's Club Dread.
The warped minds behind Super Troopers
He's already pulled over. He can't pull over any farther.
You know how fast you were going?
65.
63.
used to be the fuzz.
Yeah, fiesta time. Are you ready to party?
Now they're catching a buzz.
So you came here to escape civilization, and we're gonna hold you to it.
In this tropical paradise,
Lars Brunkhorst, I'm the new masseur. We swapped out a 6-foot Swedish broad for this guy. I'm 6'1".
everyone's got to stick together.
Whoa, code red, bogey. Oh, dude, check out that. What's up? Dude, don't be gay, man.
If they don't want to get whacked.
What is it? Too waxy?
and they're either getting killed
Are you telling me there's some totally deranged dude running around out there?
or getting lucky.
Is it too much to ask? Have sex with the guests. Some of them are bad looking.
There's Putman, the tennis pro.
You've got your arms around me, Jenny. I can only assume this means every other man on the island is dead.
Juan, the dive master.
That is a beautiful name. Penelope.
Lars, the masseur.
I can see how tight you were from a mile away.
What can I say? Some girls are just tighter than others.
Sam, the fun police.
Who wants to limbo?
Dave, the DJ.
If you're the killer, that's cool. Just, don't kill me.
It could be anyone. If you're dying for a vacation,
Come on, let's just have a drink and mellow out.
join the club.
Oh, yeah!
Broken Lizards Club Dread.
When a serial killer interrupts the fun at the swanky Coconut Beach Resort, a hedonistic island paradise for swingers, it's up to the club staff to stop the violence or at least hide it. Okay, wow. I first off want to say that Bill Paxton, rest in peace, you beautiful son of a bitch, because he is awesome in this. I think that this movie didn't get a fair shake when it came out because I think it just was part of it was like their sophomores follow up to Super Troopers, and since Super Troopers was so beloved that this movie didn't get a fair shake, and I think I read about that a lot. I bought this when it first came out and I loved it. I think it's still funny to this day, and I'm just like, if you want to watch like a horror comedy spoof, like everybody, there's 5 scary movies and not a single one of them are good, but this one, does its job.
Wrong.
That's my opinion. But yeah, just Bill Paxton in this, and just all the people in it, and they're they rely on a lot of slasher movie tropes, but I mean that's what basically this movie is about. There's a lot of red herrings. They try to throw you off thinking that Penelope, or Penelope in this case, is the killer, and she's this gymnast, or like maybe it's her instructor coming back to kill people, and yeah, you never actually know who the killer is, and since it's a comedy, you almost don't even really care. You're just having a lot of fun with the ride. This movie's got great quotes in it, in my opinion. Just between MC Gainey's, there's always some fuckhead out there wanting to shit in the apple pie, but you just met the one apple pie that knows how to shit back. Love that line. Bill Paxton completely freaking out on, teaching those people how to cook coconut Pete's paella, and he chucks that coconut and then knocks the clock off the wall. And he screams, yes! And he fucking just wings that coconut, man, just like Roger Clemens. It's fucking awesome. Do you think Eddie Money has to put up with this shit? Oh, man. Yeah, and it's typical Broken Lizard comedy stuff. To me, next to Super Troopers, this is their best movie because when they did like the Slammin' Salmon or Dukes
Beer
of
Fest.
Hazzard, Beer Fest is pretty good too, but I think I like this one a little bit better. But yeah, I can't say enough good things about this movie. I know some people probably don't like it very much, but I think it's a blast. Yeah, what did you guys think? I'll quit, building it up so somebody can tear it down. Probably.
What's the tear down? This movie's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad you made it. That was funny. No, it's one of my favorite movies ever. This is so funny. It's these guys' humor from day one is just hit home, and
Oh yeah.
Everything, all the playing on tropes, all the just poking fun at things, all the half naked girls, and all this. It's just, I love it. I
Jordan Ladd
love
topless
this movie.
Is it like is this your favorite Broken Lizards then, or
I don't try to rate these
try to rate
things,
'em?
but
Okay.
It's pretty high
course
for
it's-
me.
I like them all, really. I think.
I do too. I like all their stuff. I've really gotten obsessed with Slam and Salmon though. There's something about that one that
I love that
You're
one
really-
too.
I really love. That one.
I think it's good. I think it's good.
That
I
might
like it.
be that might be a contender for my favorite out of their stuff, which is weird because it's the last one that they've done. Usually you would expect diminishing returns, especially when they had such a gap between what was it, Super Troopers 2 and Slam and Salmon? I don't remember which one came first.
And I
but-
think Slam and Salmon is the one that Kevin Hefferman directed, and not Jay Chatagaskar.
Oh, okay.
I love their TV show.
Yeah.
It's freaking amazing and hilarious. The fire station one.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So good.
Something
Every-
PD
Yep.
or FD.
Yep. Tacoma.
Tacoma
yeah.
FD. Yeah.
Love it. So great.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love their stuff, and their humor does really speak to me. And do you always get like little outside of the box jokes? You get subversed in like what you would expect this kind of humor to be, but once in a while they'll throw you for a loop on a joke, like in Super Troopers with the meow bit, which has been so transcended, into pop culture. Like how many times I've had conversations with somebody and they throw in the meow thing. And you get some of that here too. Like, I think it's a hilarious gag, but who thinks of this shit, right? Like the human Pac-Man game.
Yeah.
And
I was just gonna say, like, even the minor characters in this movie, like that are playing the Pac-Man game, and he just fucking drills, Jay Chatagaskar, and he says, a simple tag would have been fine, and he just, this eat it, fuck nut, and then he just runs off, yeah.
And
I love this movie.
as far as horror comedy goes, especially in satirizing the slasher genre, there is not a funnier slasher stalking sequence than seeing a guy dressed up as a freaking pear getting stalked in that maze. The goofy look on that guy's face and the fact that he can't turn his neck. I don't know. There's something about him in that costume just cracks me up as he's being stalked by the killer. You got the great gag with the golf cart. Where the killer can just walk up alongside as she's trying to speed away in the golf cart. I feel like they do a decent job. Obviously it's definitely more on the comedy side. I do appreciate up until like the reveal that they really try to keep the killer serious. There's like no slapsticky gags with the killer or anything like that. I think that's an important element in any good horror comedy. If you try to take the horror element as serious as possible. I don't think they 100% nailed it, but the fact that the killer doesn't play for laughs is what helps that. And there's a couple of moments that, like, if they just would have decided to make a straight up slasher movie, it could have been pretty cool. Like the opening scene, the two girls actually, when the one starts to fall off the side of the cliff and she reaches to grab onto something to pull herself to safety, and she grabs the blade and her hand just slides down the blade. That was freaking cool. That's a real awesome horror scene there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or when the other girl gets her head chopped off and it's POV of her head was very, very cool. That, so you get a few elements like that too. It's few and far between as far, but there was some cool thought into a couple of decent little horror shots there, I think. But yeah, I love this movie. Who else?
This is like the only Broken Lizard movie I hadn't seen. I'd seen the cover, I'd seen the trailers. Somehow I'd never seen this one. I love their other stuff. Maybe because of my expectations going into it and because it's a bit dated now. I probably should have seen it when it came out and not waited so long because it just didn't do much for me. I felt the humor was a little I don't know,
Too
dated.
sophomoric?
No, just dated. Like, it's just like, and I know their stuff is very like bro comedy, sort of gross out sometimes. Just and I love that stuff. Yeah, I love that stuff in their other movies, and I still liked it here. There was definitely some moments I laughed, and Bill Paxton was hilarious, and I love the idea that he's a Jimmy Buffett knockoff, and like the joke when they're sitting around the fire and the girl is like, sing Margaritaville, and he's like, it's like a big thing. Don't mention that song, and that was funny and the running joke.
Fucking years.
I just really wanted to like belly laugh like I do with their other movies, and like I said, I think it's more on me for waiting this long to see it. But it's still a good movie. It's my favorite of the three, obviously, but just not my favorite Broken Lizard movie. I would say Super Troopers and Slammin' Salmon are above this. Yeah, but I had fun with it. It's not. I didn't hate it by any means. I think I just went into it thinking I'm gonna freaking love this because it's Broken Lizard slasher movie. But I don't know. Brian.
It's fine.
Well, you hate comedy.
Yeah, we learned in the bonus episode
I had
that
the
Brian
exact
doesn't like comedies. So.
Had a similar reaction to Tad for an opposite reason, but this will give the lie to my hating comedy too. I saw this right when it came out because I was so excited for their follow-up to Super Troopers, which I fucking love. I loved it when it first came out. I still love it. Like, that's one of those movies, the first time I saw it, it was like stomach cramp pain laughing. You know what I mean? And then this is like, there are some great moments in it that never add up to a great whole. Like you were talking about the scene, like the falling and grabbing the knife, the decapitation and the POV shot. I love the ending of the killer won't die.
Yeah.
And that cracks me up still. So I watched it again fairly. I didn't actually rewatch it like this week for the podcast because within the last few months, Terry and I watched this again, and it was the first time I'd seen it since it came out, and I liked it more the second time. But it's I feel like it's too long. It's a little too meandering. Like it just needs to be tighter. Like trim 15, 20 minutes out of it. Just make it punchy. Go, go, go. It would probably work better. And I do like, I'm not sure if I've seen all of their movies, but this is my least favorite of the ones I've seen. So the two Super Troopers movies, I haven't seen Dukes of Hazzard because I didn't know that was them. Slammin' Salmon's really good. I love Beer Fest. Is it so? It's not like an official Broken Lizard movie. It's just
Dukes of Hazzard
because he directs a lot of stuff. So
yeah, cool.
But yeah, it's all right.
All right.
You and Hank are fucking dead.
Tad, do you have any trivia for us on Club Dread?
There's quite a bit of fun stuff on here. Broken Lizard screened this film for Jimmy Buffett, who was so amused. He was so amused that he requested permission to sing some of the film's original songs on one of his live tours. So apparently he played a few of these songs.
Please tell me he's playing Pina Coladaberg, though, He has to play that one.
Has to.
Did he sing them while he was running over manatees in his power boat? Fucking
probably
asshole. Fuck Jimmy Buffett.
In the DVD commentary, it is explained that the line, "How many of you knew he was uncircumcised and smelled of oranges?" was a line included in the script to see if anyone was really reading it before the film was greenlit. They just threw it in to see if anyone was actually reading it. And then the final one I had was during the campfire scene, the cast tells the story of a former employee being tricked into having sex with a female corpse and going insane. Does anyone know that reference?
Wouldn't that be
Terror Train?
Terror Train.
Terror Train, yeah. So that's sort of a deep cut, sort of a fun reference. I know that one of the counselors is wearing like the same outfit from Friday the 13th. I noticed that little reference in there too. Some fun, throwbacks. But I thought that one was cool just because Terror Train is not not everyone has seen that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Tad. So, Brian, what's our next film?
Our next film is, I assume, a commiseration gift for you fuckers doing Wild Zero without me.
Oh.
It is Mad Doctor of Blood Island.
When we finally got him aboard, he was half conscious, so we tried to revive him. He turned into a raving lunatic. He killed one of my men before I finally got a bullet in him.
What happened to him?
He jumped overboard. It was right after sunset. We couldn't find a trace of him. But before he jumped, he bled a lot on deck. His blood was green.
This is a barbaric experience in the most grotesque sense. You will see supernatural beings caught up in the rampage of gory brutality, and it will shock you and jolt you more than you would ever expect. Creatures living for synthetic green blood. They walk by night and take part in gruesome, unholy acts of savagery. It's incredible. It's unbelievable. But you will witness scenes so frightening that your mind will not be able to accept what you see. But don't say we didn't warn you. The Mad Doctor of Blood Island is coming your way soon. And he's waiting for you. Why don't you pay him a visit? No appointments are necessary. But bring along your courage. You will need it. Yes, indeed.
All right, a boat arrives on Blood Island carrying Bill Foster, a pathologist investigating a strange disease afflicting the villagers, Sheila Willard, an American looking for her lost father, and Carlos Lopez, who managed to escape the island life and has come back to get his mother to go with him back to the mainland now that his father has died and she is alone on the island. Sheila's dad turns out to be a busted-down alcoholic. Mrs. Lopez refuses to leave the island, and it all ties somehow to the mysterious Dr. Lorca, who has been working with a unique strain of chlorophyll found only in the plants of Blood Island. Carlos's father was dying of cancer and begged Lorca to use a compound derived from the chlorophyll to treat him, but it turned him into a monster that has been brutally dismembering the natives. Since then, Lorca has been experimenting on the rest of the natives, many of whom he has locked in a dungeon, to try to reverse the effects. Ramon kills his ex-wife and almost kills Carlos, but he has a change of heart when he recognizes his son, and in classic mad scientist movie fashion, turns on Lorca, destroys the underground lab, and supposedly man and monster perish in a fiery blaze. Okay, so it's no secret at all that I fucking love these movies, right?
Had a feeling.
Yeah.
It is the reason why I had you on this show, yes.
Fuck yeah, so I could listen to everyone else's misery at having had to watch this.
Got him.
So I first saw these movies in college when I picked up the old Image Something Weird video DVD set at a used record store. I'd heard of them, but I never had found them in the wild. And then I found this box set for like $8. Fuck yeah. And I just immediately fell in love with them. They're so unlike any other kind of exploitation film. But at the same time, they're such a perfect distillation of everything I love about exploitation movies. The tropical setting provides lots of great scenery for the actors to chew. There's tons of nudity and gore, especially for their time. I mean, this came out in 1968, and like nobody but H.G. Lewis was making movies this graphic at this time, which I know some of you watched the TV Elvira edit, so you probably didn't get all the guts, but this is a gory-ass movie for 1968. This is a gory-ass movie by today's standards. Not that it's it's mostly just the monster attacks someone while the camera zooms in and out and makes you nauseous, and then cut to a naked girl laying in a pile of sheep guts or whatever. But that's how you did it when you had no money. But yeah, I just fucking love these movies. There's just something. They're a perfect time capsule. They're gross and gory, and they're full of nudity, like I said. But there's also something kind of weirdly innocent about them. They also have this kind of like, not exactly a universal monster feel, but they feel like monster movies made 20 years before them. They feel like Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla, but with tits or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get that. Absolutely. And I think that comes a lot into play of like the design and creations of these creatures that are in the films.
Oh yeah, and
they're so low budget looking, and it's like paper mache and peat moss is what you make your monsters out of. But they look cool. They're fun.
There's a moment where the beast turns to look at somebody, and you see through the eye hole of them, like the mask is so far away from their like ill-fitting and not touching their face that you can see through the eye hole and out the other to like daylight through the other side. But God love it. And I don't remember either the DVD set that I had, because I have the Severin Blu-ray set now. I missed out on the pre-order where you could get a mask of the Beast of Blood, because I totally would have fucking bought, like they had a full-on rubber Don Post Halloween type mask, but that sold out like in minutes. But I did get the one that came with like some coasters and a little recipe card of how to make a Oath of the Green Blood drink, and like a drink stir and some other just silly little tiki bar shit, enamel pin and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, either the DVD set I had was edited, or I just like blanked out the animal violence, because I don't remember there being actual animal killing in this movie until I watched it on the Blu-ray. And a fucking course, I've been like, because I love these movies so much, I wanted to show them to Terry. So a few months ago, we watched Brides of Blood, which isn't the first one, but it's the first in color one, and the one of kind of in this 3-part continuity of Brides of Blood, Mad Doctor, and Beast of Blood. And so we're sitting watching this one, and she's chuckling at all the goofy parts, and we're kind of having a good time. And then that luau scene happens, and that was, and I was just kind of sitting there like, oh shit. But I think, luckily, I think she was like playing on her phone at that point, and because there's a really, really long, kind of boring dance sequence before that happens.
Yeah.
So I think she kind of maybe checked out for a minute, didn't see the whole thing, which is all for the best. But,
well, and that violent, it's not nearly as in your face and lingering on it as like the Italian cannibal films too.
Yeah, so. It's not like, at least of the killing, but like there's a pretty long shot of one of those goats like twitching with blood squirting out of its neck.
Yeah,
that was kind of gnarly. And when I know it's coming,
it's
like when
bad,
I watch when I watch an Italian cannibal movie, I'm expecting it's like, all right, here we go. But it just came as such a shock to me this time, because it's been a while since I've watched this one. Usually I go to one of the others. That's another thing.
Well, it's a Filipino movie. They kill humans in Filipino movies, not animals.
made in the Philippines, where life is cheap. The tagline from Snuff, the Mike and Roberta Findlay movie. But you kind of picked the worst one. Like this is so. Don't guys.
That's good to know. Knack at that, trust me.
Guys,
good to know.
You should really watch, because it kind of drags. This one really focuses more on the mystery of what is Dr. Lorca doing and who is the monster. The Brides of Blood, the one before this, John Ashley's in it playing a completely different character, has fuck all to do with this movie except Dr. Lorca. Like the plants on Blood Island are weird and alive because they were irradiated by nearby nuclear tests. So those are the plants that Dr. Lorca is working with the chlorophyll on, and they briefly mentioned the evil one, which is what they call the monster in Brides of Blood, but otherwise it's completely unrelated. But then Beast of Blood, the next one, follows. I mean, not only is it a sequel, it picks up literally the second the credits cut in this one. Like, it's just right after the when you see that hand come out of the lifeboat on the ship. But yeah, so Brides of Blood is a lot more exuberantly goofy, even though it's not quite as gory. It's just much, much sillier. This one is kind of a slow burn, like trying to draw you into the mystery, and it maybe goes on a little bit too long in the middle. And then Beast of Blood is like a gnat's hair away from being just a legitimately good movie. It's like Eddie Romero learned how to make, well, it was co-directed. It's not just Eddie Romero. It's Eddie Romero and Gerard De Leon co-directed this, but Eddie was the producer and kind of the force behind the whole thing. And then later on, he and John Ashley actually started a partnership and are producing movies for Roger Corman, among other people. I can get into that a little bit more in the trivia. I will say Ronald Remy as Dr. Lorca looks, because of the way his hair is styled and a little bit of streak of gray and the glasses he has, he looks a lot like Tadao Takashima in Son of Godzilla. Okay, anyway. The rest of you
somehow got to get Godzilla in here.
Of course I do. What did y'all think? I know you all hated it except for Mike, but tell me anyway.
Well, before I let them all hate, I will say I do love this movie too. I love the whole franchise. I want to throw out there real quick that when I picked this movie, I thought for sure it was public domain and it would be everywhere. But it's nowhere. It is literally nowhere. And so yeah, the guys had to. I have a DVD. I have it on DVD.
I wanted to say that I regret. It's unfortunate that we had to. As much as I love Elvira, it's unfortunate that we had to watch that version.
Yeah,
because I didn't even think about it having.
Yeah,
guts, blood, ass, blood, and guts.
Cut all the good stuff. Yeah.
So, Mike, you said you have the DVD, so you probably have the same set I do, right? The old Image one.
No, I wish
it's a different one.
No, I have that crappy. I forget the label now, but it's a label that most primarily just dumps public domain movies on a disc and cashes in a couple
Mill
bucks.
Creek.
Oh, lower than Mill Creek even.
Alpha Video.
Yes, that's it.
Oh.
That's unfortunately, yeah, that's the one I have. So yeah,
I had no idea
assumed,
they did a version of this.
What's that?
I had no idea they did a version of this.
Yeah, because I mean, I assumed it was public domain, and then I saw that it was on Tubi. But then when you click on it on Tubi, and which I did, and I start watching, and I'm like, this isn't Mad Doctor of Blood Island. It's that
Dr. X.
Yeah, it's that Dr. X movie from the 70s, also known as Venus Flytrap, which was
the Ed Wood movie. Yeah, the Ed Wood awesome.
Movie. Yeah, which it's also awesome, but definitely not the same. I mean, I guess
that actually has a guy from a Godzilla movie in it.
That's right, because that was like wasn't that like a
Japanese co-production? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How weird is that, right? Ed Wood script, Japanese production. So you get like, the Japanese horror movie aesthetic of that era with the shitty dialogue of an Ed Wood movie. Yeah, it's amazing. Anyway, but Mad Doctor is awesome. Okay, now we'll let all the haters go.
I think, Jason said something about too bad we had to watch the Elvira version, and I think that's the only thing that might have saved it for me. Having her sort of make fun of the movie. But, I do think that if you're going to watch a movie for the podcast, you should go in and watch it, without commentary on it, because that can definitely have an influence on your thoughts on it. And I just had a hard time focusing on this one. And of course the quality wasn't great. So as far as like actual video quality, it's very hard to even see.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not going to hate on it. I'm not saying it's unwatchable by any means, and it's not crap. Like, I've seen a lot worse on the show. It was very much a product of its time, and I do wish I could see it with more gore and the stuff that Brian's talking about, because that might have been at like one of those things where it's like, at the very least we had that, but I didn't even have that. So at least we had Elvira's jokes, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I won't talk too much about this one just because of that. So we'll leave it as to be continued. I'd watch it again without Elvira.
Yeah, I mean, if I could see a better version of this, because I feel like the version that we got to see with Elvira was like the lighting was like pretty much used with like a flashlight. I mean, this movie seems so damn dark to me from the version we watched. I wasn't really crazy, and Elvira mentioned this. It's like I wasn't really crazy with the zooming in and out.
Yeah,
Is
is anyone gonna
as an effect
stand up for that?
Yeah,
and explain
I was
why
like,
that needs.
what?
No,
Why
I can't even say that's a good
defend
idea.
that?
That was a strange choice.
But at least
Yeah,
it's
I
through
was-
the whole movie.
Yeah,
Through every horrific moment, every time the
was only
monster
like-
appears, and maybe it's done because they know their monster looked like shit. So let's just
Yeah,
Don't
that's,
let them
you say
focus.
that again.
just push in the camera lens in and out really fast to distract.
But yeah, it's. I mean, I would like to give it another chance if it's if I can maybe watch a better version. I'm kind of
Severin Films Blu-ray.
Yeah, they look great. They clean up nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page with Tad here. It's just like I had because it was just I had such a hard time trying to focus on this and realize what's going on. I mean, I know that certain people are on the island, and there's this green secret of the ooze Ninja Turtle drink or whatever the fuck it is, but and chlorophyll is bad, and then but. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I would be able to tell you more, and I'd be able to elaborate on you more to tell you if I really liked it or not. But I couldn't really focus as well as I would have liked to on this movie. But I'd give it another shot if I could, see a better version of it.
Hey, not a lot of hate, Brian. That was weird. You were so ready.
I know.
Cool. Well, since Brian is the Eddie Romero expert on the show,
Is that George's uncle, by the way? I meant to ask that.
yeah, I knew that was going to happen at some point.
Maybe Cesar Romero's brother.
Oh, that could
Yeah, there you go. Do you have any fun little trivia about this movie, Brian?
Yeah, well, so since you did Eddie Romero on a previous episode of Insane's Hall of Fame, so I didn't really dig too much into him because you'd already pretty well covered him. But so the two white people stars of the movie, so they could sell it to U.S. drive-ins. Angelique Pettyjohn, she is best known for being in a Star Trek episode of the original series called Gamesters of Triskelion. She was also in Mike Findlay's The Touch of Her Flesh and the Curse of Her Flesh as Claudia Jennings, the wife of Richard Jennings, the stripper murdering weapons dealer lunatic. Those movies are fucking great too. You should check those out. Mike, I know you would love them. I don't.
Yeah,
the rest of you probably would hate it. Andy, you might like them. You like some of the weird sleazy stuff.
I do, but you mentioned Claudia Jennings because there was a real Claudia Jennings.
Right, like Gator Bait.
Yeah, and Texas Dynamite Chase and Death Sport.
Right. The Flesh movies were like 64, so that was a little before Claudia Jennings was a big star. But her final role was in the full-length version of Mike Jitlov's The Wizard of Speed and Time, which was originally a 5-minute short film that they used to play at midnight every year at B-Fest. Oh, well, they still play it. They just haven't had B-Fest for a little while because of the pandemic. And before the film print that they always rented burned up and broke, finally just get disintegrated to the point that it couldn't be played anymore, they used to play the short once regular, and then they would turn the reel around and play it upside down and backwards.
Oh, okay.
It was amazing.
I remember that short in when I attended the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, and we watched it straight, and everybody in the room laughed at the same time and everything. And then we turned around and watched certain segments in slow motion, and there's subliminal messages throughout that short film that tell you
about
like little messages that say "laugh now," and it's all it's all in tune with exactly when we laughed in the class.
I've never seen the full length version, but yeah, that was her final role. She also had a brief career as an adult star.
I remember Petty John the most personally from Fred Olen Ray's Biohazard.
Yep, where she's the psychic.
Yeah, and that was like after did she have breast cancer or something? She had some surgery done on one of her boobs, and I remember in the commentary talking about, because like she shows her boobs in the movie, but she's wearing this like weird undercarriage bra thing that still exposes the boobs, but it's like she wanted to wear it so it would cover up the scars, because she's kind of got a big old hole in one of her boobies from the operation.
Oh wow!
So it's kind of,
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward watching that scene now, knowing that information.
Yeah.
You can you can still kind of see the dent in the boob.
That's gnarly.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Fred Olen Ray wasn't just. I mean, I know it's Fred Olen Ray, so of course he wanted the boobs.
Right.
But you'd think at that point you'd be like, you really don't have to do this. It's okay. We have other people. We can.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Russ. He's just Russ Meyer 2.0 basically.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's Russ Meyer .005. Are you kidding?
Okay, yeah, that's even more fair.
36 double D Russ Meyer.
So John Ashley, the guy who plays Bill Foster, got into movies because he went with a girlfriend to an audition for an AIP movie called Drag Strip Girls, and he was just there to like accompany her. And then they gave him a part; she didn't get anything. So he had a career in film, TV, as a singer. He was supposed to be kind of like a Arch Hall Jr. Elvis knockoff type of crooner guy. He got an offer to make a movie in the Philippines just as he was getting divorced. So he went down there and did Brides of Blood, and then was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna just stay here. Oh, he also has a brief role in 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's something. But so after he did a series of exploitation movies, women in prison movies in the Philippines with Eddie Romero, they made movies for Roger Corman. They made movies for Al Adamson. He became a liaison / line producer on the ground in the Philippines for Apocalypse Now.
Oh,
and then he moved back to the States and continued to produce some films, smaller stuff, but he did a lot of TV, including his biggest hit, Walker, Texas Ranger.
Awesome.
So, there's some fun little bits of stuff about the people who are in Mad Doctor of Blood Island. I will say one more thing. I was at G-Fest this year, and in the dealer room, there was a poster dealer, and he was probably just as surprised to have somebody at a Godzilla convention know what these movies were as I was to find the posters for them. I nailed the trifecta of original one-sheets for Brides, Mad Doctor, and Beast.
Oh my gosh.
And they're pretty rare-ish in general, but especially the ones for Brides, I think there were only like 100 or so of them printed.
Oh my.
So, yeah.
Man.
So someday I want to get them all framed in kind of like bamboo-looking things and make them the centerpiece of like a horror tiki bar area of a house.
That would be cool.
Wow.
That's brilliant. Love it. All right. Well, thank you, Brian, for some trivia there. Tad, what's our last movie that we're going to talk about?
Our final movie is We're Going to Eat You.
呢條村嘅人個個都食人類骨嘅。唉，呢個世界根本就係咁噶啦。係呀，我講嘅食人類骨係真正嘅食人類骨啊！你今日去過嘅屠場係通靈嘅地方啊？係。好似有輿論啊！雲吞麵邊有輿論啦？你估呢個魚片粥咩？
Okay, we're going to eat you. A secret agent investigates a village that is populated by crazed inbred cannibals, or at least that's what IMDb tells me this movie is about. I don't know where to go with this. Brian, please explain this to me.
Okay.
No, he can't even do it.
Yeah, come on.
So there's a dude named Agent 999 who is on the hunt for a international man of mystery thief named Rolex. And he comes to this island where there is a village under siege by a group of militants who are fed human flesh by their chief to make them ravening cannibal people. And stuff happens.
So that's what we want.
That's about as... I mean, it's very silly.
Yeah.
It's...
I will say this: the kung fu holds up, though. I think the choreography is like really good, and the deaths, during the fights, they come across as accidental, which either makes it kind of like equal parts gruesome, equal parts funny. But it's played for laughs, and just like they're like the one scene when like I believe it's 999 and the sheriff. I mean, they're just in there. They're in the sheriff station and they're just pummeling the shit out of each other. And the sheriff's guards are asleep like in the next room, and they're just like, "Oh, the chief is having sex." It's like, who screws that loud and like is smashing furniture and all this and that.
You're doing it right.
Well, I suppose so. The movie is you can tell the movie's a little dated because there's like a very large transvestite man trying to sexually assault a lot of people. But I mean, the movie, if you know what you're getting, I didn't know what I was getting into, but once you realize what you're into, you can just have fun with it, and it's actually pretty entertaining. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, the fights are great. I wish there were more of them. The bits where there's gore are also fantastic. Like when the dude gets sawed in half. Like,
oh my goodness,
fucking brutal.
Yeah, gnarly.
So this is Choi Hawk's second film. He made it the same year as Dangerous Encounters of the First Kind, which I really want to see. That one's like really political and not supposedly, but I have heard it is very violent, very serious, whereas this one is kind of goofy. But he made a lot of anti-communist short films as a film student, and a lot of that kind of carries over into this one too. I guess the chief feeding his minions other people, like they're meant to be sort of a metaphor for communist China. So there's a little bit of a protest film in this, but at the same time, I think there was a lot of producers saying, no, make it funny and do this and go there. So it all winds up being kind of disjointed. Like, Trey Hawk doesn't even like this movie. He's flat out said, yeah, this one's a mess. You can probably just skip it, watch some of my other stuff. And I love a lot of his other, like, I don't see myself ever going back to this one, but I'll watch Legend of Zoo for the 90th time right now. So I mean, the dude can make a movie. We actually covered another one of his movies many moons ago in a vampire episode. He did the movie Vampire Hunters, where it's group of bungling goofballs chasing the Jiangxi hopping vampire creature. But
I get the impression that like maybe like Stephen Chow grew up on some of these movies, and then went on to make Shaolin Soccer and Kung Fu Hustle, which I think is fucking brilliant.
Oh yeah, that movie's
I love Kung Fu Hustle.
Anyone who doesn't is wrong and dumb and should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, I was first exposed to how do you say his first name?
Choi
Hart back in college with some bootlegs, and yeah, I was kind of shocked at all the comedy in this. Everything I've ever seen of his stuff is definitely far more serious, and very a lot of great action stuff that he has done back in the day, but this was definitely, and I too have always been wanting to see Dangerous Encounter of the First Kind. So knowing these two were back to back and knowing what Dangerous Encounter was, this definitely threw me for a loop. I still had fun with it. The Kung Fu stuff is great. The cannibal stuff is fun. There's some moments where I did laugh out loud. Like I think it's towards one of the final fight scenes when somebody gets slashed in the face or whatever, and a chunk of flesh goes flying and hits one of the other cannibals, and he stops and kind of, licks it a little bit, and then, stuffs it in his shirt to eat for later. That was a great gag. I think that's the best gag of the whole movie. But yeah, but it is a bit long in the tooth there. It drags on a lot in between all the, the gore moments and the kung fu moments. So yeah, it was all right, not bad.
Man, guys, I really enjoyed it. It was great.
Well, you're a kung fu guy.
Love kung fu movies.
Yeah.
I don't like. I'm not an aficionado as far as like I don't know who makes them and who does what, but like
Shaw Brothers, man. That's the way to
give
go.
me that all day long, all day long. I love it, love it, love it. And like you said, the gore was awesome when it happened, and I had a great time with it.
Cool, good. I'm watching it, and sometimes when I watch certain movies that I pick for the podcast, as I'm watching, I think about everybody's reactions.
I don't know if you do.
I do. I sincerely do. And I'm watching this one, and I'm thinking, oh man, Jason's probably gonna hate this. And then I had that moment of like, but he always says
I do.
He really likes old classic kung fu theater and shit like that.
Love it.
So I didn't know where he'd land on it. So that's good.
Mm-hmm. Ted.
I thought I expressed earlier.
Yeah.
If I don't know what I watched, I enjoyed watching the kung fu, and I enjoyed watching the gore, and at least we had that, yeah. I'll be short and sweet. It just I really had no idea what the fuck was happening.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Did you have any trivia for this one, Tad?
There's nothing. I mean, this movie doesn't, like I had like a 5-word description. There's nothing on the IMDb for trivia for anything. My trivia is I have no idea what this is about.
Well, I have one bit that should
They use some Suspiria music.
Yeah,
Yes, I noticed that.
That's what I was going to say, yeah. The blatantly obvious ripping off, stealing Goblin music. And that was the thing, too, I found really interesting. I kind of like the overall score, but it's so all over the place. Sometimes you get some of that, like, stereotypical old-timey, like, Hong Kong, cymbals and music. And then you get, like, straight up Goblin, music from Suspiria, and it wasn't like they used a lot of the soundtrack. It was always the same bit over and over again.
It's like it felt like they were playing it. Like sometimes they put when they're editing or when they're on set, they put like placeholder and then they replace it later, and it's like they didn't replace it. Yeah,
it's probably not too far off because
Probably.
I read that they used Suspiria because they just didn't have the budget to score the movie. So you're probably not too far off with that assessment. But even like there's like moments if you get some like like old timey spooky haunted house theremin type music in there, which I enjoyed. So I kind of like the score, but it's so all over the place. There's no theme to the score whatsoever. Anyway, there we go. Check it out.
Islands.
Yeah. That's our topic. Island horror, and that is the movies we discussed. And so that's
island horror. Is it island horror?
No.
So that's it for the topic, but we definitely still have more show to come. We're going to take a quick break so you can hear a promo for the podcast network, the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, now with over 30 different shows, including the Horrorcast, which is a film discussion show where friends review and discuss horror cinema, old and new, in-depth reviews, horror news, collectors' discussions, and lists. Lots of lists. If you want intelligent horror film discussion, this is your show. Check out the Horrorcast and all the other shows at thepfpn.com. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
And welcome back to the show. We're now sick and tired of hearing ourselves talk, so we want to hear from you. Here's Jason with shout-outs.
It's time for shout-outs! 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 Shout-outs!
All right, on this episode, shout-outs, we asked the question, what are your favorite island horror movies? And these are your answers. Up first, we got Attacker Rose. She says, that Blake Lively movie where the shark won't let her swim back to shore. The Shallows.
Good one.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Fuck yeah, that movie was great.
Really good.
That was all we had over on Facebook, but on Instagram, that's right, we got Old School Video, the Reebster. He says, there are so many. I'm going to go with Shockwaves. Horrors of Spider Island.
Yeah.
White Zombie.
Oh, yeah.
And Escape from New York. It's John Carpenter, and it's an island. Close enough to horror.
ran into that guy at Crypticon, too.
Yeah, lucky duck.
Yep.
And then over on Twitter, we got the Amateur Destroyer at Amateur Destroya says, I can't think of many off the top of my head, except a few obvious ones. The Wicker Man and Jaws are my favorites. There's The Ring, The Lighthouse. I've always liked The Beach, though it's not straight up horror. Jurassic Park, of course. Battle Royale is super dope.
Yeah, it is.
Nice one. And then lastly, the Bad Movie Bunny podcast at Bad Movie Bunnies. She says, The Wicker Man with Christopher Lee, hands down.
That's right.
Yeah, those are some good ones. And, the light's beeping.
We better answer it.
Hey, Attacker Brian here for my bi-weekly phone call. Sounds like we're talking island horror this episode. And when I think of island horror, my favorite has to be rooted in my roots. Grabbers from Ireland. I love that movie. That's Horror Island. Another two I think of, are Turkey Shoot
Mm.
and one I
Yeah.
just watched this weekend, Sweet Sugar. They're both on an island.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe 70s smut, maybe not horror, but I mean, being stuck on an island, being hunted, and having to work in a sugarcane field sounds pretty horrific to me. Hope you guys have a good time. Enjoy the show. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks, Godzilla.
Turkey Shoot's the one with Railsback, Steve Railsback, right?
And Olivia Hussey, yeah.
Nice, yeah.
Great movie.
And the other one, he said smut, so he's had my attention. That's good.
Oh yeah, Sweet Sugar is great, and there's a scene in it with some cats that is so fucking funny. Not intentionally funny,
Oh,
but
gosh.
it's great.
Oh, fun.
All right. Well, all you guys can leave your voicemail too. Give us a call at 415-952-6857 or 415-95-AOTKP. Leave us that voicemail. Get your voice on the show, and that is shout-outs.
Now, Insane Mike invites you to join him in taking the oath of the green blood. Only by consuming this mysterious emerald fluid can you be protected from becoming a savage, brainless monster when you are subjected to the terror, the menace, the mind-corrupting horror of Insane's Picks.
I forgot how much I missed Brian's intros to my segment. All right, so this is the third part in our discussion of Ed Wood D. Wood Jr. After many failures and canceled projects, Wood began a downward spiral through the 60s and 70s. Beginning in 1963, up until his death, Wood wrote at least 80 lurid crime and sex novels, including in addition to hundreds of short stories and nonfiction pieces for magazines and daily newspapers. Some of his novels include Black Lace Drag in 1963, Drag Trade in 67, Devil Girls also in 67, It Takes One to Know One in 67, Death of a Transvestite, The Perverts, Sex Shroud and Caskets, all in 1968. A Study of Fetishes and Fantasies in 73. Death of a Transvestite Hooker in 74. And Forced Entry, also in 1974. Wood depended almost entirely on writing pornography and earned a living receiving about $1,000 per novel, which he spent almost immediately on alcohol at the local liquor store. In 1965, Wood handled various production details for the film Orgy of the Dead, based on one of Wood's adult books. However, directing duties went to Stephen C. I forgot how to say his name. Postoloff, who directed under the pseudonym A.C. Stephen. Orgy of the Dead is quite the interesting film. It's basically just a bunch of striptease dances with a little bit of horror element. The thing that always got me about Orgy of the Dead is it wasn't directed by Wood, but I have never seen another film that looks more like an Ed Wood production than Orgy of the Dead, with the bad continuity, daytime scenes and nighttime scenes taking place simultaneously, the bad dialogue and stilted acting. It's just I always thought it was an Ed Wood movie until I learned later in life. The film began with a recreation of the opening scene from Night of the Ghouls, where Criswell, wearing one of Bela Lugosi's old capes, rises from his coffin to deliver an introduction take almost word for word from the previous film. Set in a misty graveyard, the Lord of the Dead, played by Criswell, and his sexy cohort, the Black Ghoul, a vampire lookalike, presides over a series of macabre performances by topless dancers from beyond the grave, all recruited from Wood's favorite local strip club. The film also features a wolfman and a mummy. Together, Wood and A.C. Stephen went on to make a string of sexploitation films up to 1977. Wood co-wrote the screenplays with Stephen and occasionally even acted in some of the films. One of the films Wood appeared in was 1969 The Photographer, also known as Love Feast or Pretty Models All in a Row. Wood portrayed a photographer using his position to engage in sexual antics with the models. I do have this one on DVD. It is quite the treat. It's hard to watch all the way through because it's literally just scene after scene of another model showing up to his house, pretending to take a few pictures of the girl, and then convincing her to go into the bedroom where all the other girls are rolling around having an orgy. And Wood would strip to his underwear, roll around on the bed with the girls for a little while, and then the doorbell would ring and he'd start the whole process over again. That's the whole movie. Take It Out and Trade in 1970 was a pornographic film that Wood also wrote and directed. In 71, he wrote and directed Necromania, subtitled A Tale of Weird Love, under the pseudonym Don Miller. The film was an early entry to the new subgenre of hardcore pornography films. Though lost for years, it resurfaced in edited form on Mike Varney's Something Weird imprint in the late 1980s, and was re-released later on DVD by Fleshbot Films in 2005. In Randolph Gray's biography Nightmare of Ecstasy, Vampira said she declined Wood's offer to do a nude scene sitting in a coffin for Necromania, claiming she was recovering from a stroke at the time. From 71 to 72, Wood directed an unknown number of short X-rated films produced by a Swedish erotic film company. There were short 12-minute loops that were silent films with subtitles, and Wood was paid $100 for each 10 loops he subtitled. That's where we're going to stop for this episode. When we get into part 4 of Ed Wood, it's when things really, really, really start going downhill for the guy, and that'll be the conclusion of inducting Ed Wood into Insane's Pick Hall of Fame.
It's funny that Vampira begged off being in Necromania because she had a stroke, because everyone who saw that movie also had a stroke.
Have you seen that one?
Because it's porn.
Oh, stroke. I get it. All right. All right.
Still got it.
Okay. So, this is the tale of our castaways. They feel like they've been here a long, long time. They'll have to make the best of things, even with my really bad rhymes. The first mate and his skipper, too, will do their very best to make the others comfortable in this tropic island nest. No phone, no lights, no motor car, not a single luxury like Robinson Crusoe. It's primitive as can be. So join us here every other week, my friends. You're sure to get a smile from our 7 stranded castaways here on Attack of the Killer podcast. Bye.
Oh no, could this be the end of? Attack of the Killer Podcast.